Thank you for listening to the Speaking with Confidence podcast. Give us a review to tell everyone why you love the podcast. You can also download, like, and share the podcast with friends. Be sure to visit formulaforpublicspeaking.com and sign up for the Formula for Public Speaking course. It is a step-by-step system to help you become the confident and powerful speaker you've always wanted to be. Confidence. The podcast is here to help you unlock the power of effective public speaking. I'm your host, Tim Newman, and I'm excited to take you on a journey to become a better public speaker. Today's guest, Vicki Noethling, is a speaker, trainer, and coach focusing on public speaking and leadership. She also has an anti-aging wellness business, which complements her public speaking business as well. Her focus is on entrepreneurs, especially women, helping them find their voice and get comfortable going live, online, or on stage. She's a best-selling author and host of the Find Your Leadership Conference podcast. She offers webinars, courses, and individual and group programs to take her clients to the next level in their business. Vicki, welcome to the show. It's been a while since we had a chance to catch up, so I'm glad to talk to you today.
Thanks, Tim. So good to see you again. We had such a fun time on my podcast. I was anxious to get back here with you on yours.
Yeah, and it's great when you find somebody who you think alike and you think do a lot of the same things, but maybe have a different approach to it, and it's good to be able to connect with people like that all the time. Anyway.
Yeah, different strokes for different folks. That's the beauty of what we do.
Exactly. So tell us about your speaking journey, and have you ever had any embarrassing moments? And what was that moment that you knew you could get over your fears and be great and be able to teach and inspire other people?
I've had so many embarrassing moments. It's not even funny. One of the pivotal moments, I guess, I had been in Toastmasters for probably, I was the founder, or am the founder, of the UPS corporate Toastmasters in 1998, way back. And so I had been in supervision just probably about 4 or 5 years and joined Toastmasters right as I went into supervision. And so as a Toastmaster, they said, well, normally the board of directors does our annual talk of state of the business and all this, and each discipline is represented in a small talk. And so we're going to have different members, managers, supervisors be able to do those talks, except for the main one. And so we're going to have you do the HR talk. Okay, so they give you a script, have a script. I'm allowed to read from the script. I'm in front of 300 people, and it's televised. And I get up, and my first sentence had the word people in it. And I didn't say people. I said pee-pee. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I saw the looks on the people's faces, and I could have died. I didn't. I could have stopped and cried. I didn't. I just said, hey, guys, I'm a mom. I'm allowed to say that. But let me tell you what's written on this piece of paper. And I just went on, and they laughed. And honestly, probably 10 years later, I still had people saying, hey, I remember you. You're the girl that talked about pee-pee on stage. But it's, it made me realize that, everybody makes mistakes. And it's how you react to it that makes the difference. And so as time goes on, there were just other instances where, even today, in this past year, I read for a lector for the church. And so I got up, I had a new pair of shoes on. Tim, they were awesome shoes. Had a little skirt on. I get up onto the altar, and I'm walking to the ambo to be able to read my scripture. And my ankle went over on these little wedges, and down I went. Now, our church has people in the front and people on the side, and I had a skirt on.
Oh, my.
And down I went, and I popped back up, and I walked, and I did the reading, because I couldn't slow down things. I couldn't make, and so once again, I don't know what people saw on the sides, but it was okay. And again, I wasn't arrested. I wasn't, I didn't die from it. And it made it a moment. It was a moment.
Yeah.
And so I always teach that anytime you get up and speak, just remember it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
Tim, it's just a conversation. And you don't practice for conversations. You don't have a script for a conversation. The thing that happens, the magic that happens is whenever you're in that conversation and you just are you.
Right.
And it's natural. And you don't have to practice how you use your hands, and you don't have to practice the vocal variety and the gesturing and all those things. It just happens. And so if anytime we get up and speak to anyone, feel confident in what we have to present, that's the one thing. Know your material, and then just have a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important to understand, like you just said, that everybody makes mistakes. And, for me, I don't take myself very seriously. I tell people I don't take myself very seriously at all, but I take what I do seriously. And I use self-deprecating humor. When I mess up, I'm like, it's just, okay, here we go. And you move on. And it's okay to laugh. It's okay to make fun of yourself and just get on to about the conversation that you're supposed to have. It's, again, people aren't judging you like we think they are. They're more worried about thinking about what other people are thinking about them. So it's going to be okay. It really is.
Yeah.
So when did you know you were going to be great?
I think every day you wonder am I going to be great today? But the thing is, how do you start your day? If you start your day saying, "Oh, this is going to suck. I'm going to have a horrible day." But if you start your day and think, I'm going to give it my best. And I think that's what's important. I never try for perfect. I learned in all my years that perfect is boring and it's not going to happen. And if you worry about being perfect, that's whenever you screw up more. That's whenever you feel less than you really are worth. And there are plenty of people that can cut you down. So why should I be that person? So I'm just going to say, this is going to be a great interview. This is going to be a great speech. This is going to be a great lesson. And I'm going to just give it my best, because you deserve, as the audience, my best. Right?
And that's really a mindset shift that, we've got to instill in our students and in our clients, right? Because that's not air fingers quotes normal thought process. Society has conditioned ourselves to not think like that. So we really have to have that mindset shift.
Yeah. And even, some of the coaches that I've had, their process is different than I coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that's not good. It's obviously they have lots of clients, but it was like whenever I did modeling when I was younger, like they looked at everything. Your eyes aren't right. Your nose is not right, and it was like, but do I look okay?
Right.
Is anybody going to buy what I'm wearing? And so if you start to focus on all those things, you'll find things wrong, right?
Exactly.
But as a coach, we have to really remind you of the things that are good, that you're doing well. And anything, whether you talk to the person about what they're doing well as a speaker or what they could improve, you have to include that 3-letter word after, which is why. Why did I love the way you did that? Why could you have done it differently? And this is how it would sound if you tried it differently. And then let them try that and see how it feels, because then they'll get that confidence that, oh yeah, I could do that. But if you just say this is terrible and move on, then they're going to wonder, well, why was it terrible? It's like if you get a grade on a test and they don't give you the reason, you're looking all through it thinking, well, what was wrong, with this essay that I did or this paper that I wrote, and as a person who writes books, or even a movie, if people don't come, you want to have that critic, even though we hate them, but you want to have that person that says what they didn't like. Is
Yes.
it a personal opinion, or is it really okay, what you put out there wasn't your best? And
Right.
maybe this is how you could have done it differently. So
Yeah,
that's it.
I like that approach and that mindset a lot. I'm somebody that number one asks a lot of questions. So, again, why are you doing it this way? Um,
Yeah.
whatever it is, you would you consider doing it a different way? Why or why not? Have you tried it other ways? And this is what you settled on, or this is what you found works for you. And from that standpoint, that's when we can really start to help people, as opposed to, like you said, just coming in and saying, no, 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 do it this way. Because, you know,
Mhm.
again, I come from a sport background, and take golf, for example. How many different ways
Yeah.
are there to swing a golf club? Right. I mean, if there was only one correct way, right, nobody would be
Yeah.
better than anybody at playing golf.
Yeah.
Right.
I told
And
my husband I tried golf, and I still probably will uh, play with it a little bit more. But I said, God, there's so much to remember.
yeah,
You're just swing. You think you're just swinging this, but there's so much to remember.
and it's okay to do things differently.
Mhm.
Because I mean, again, number one, we're all different. We all process information different. We all communicate differently.
Yeah.
We all have different strengths in how we communicate and how we perceive things. And it's okay to both from the coaching perspective and the student or client perspective to ask questions and come to some understanding of why and how things are done the way that they're done, and be good and great at those things, doing them differently.
Yeah. And I love that you bring in sports, because I often tie in public speaking to sports or even singing, where you don't, the first time you sing a note, the first time you swing a bat, or swing a golf club, shoot a basket, it's not going to be great, it, unless you're just uber gifted. But generally, people aren't, and so it's that practice. It's
Yes.
doing it over, trying a different way. Moving slightly, having a different tone in your voice, and so that really is why whenever you speak, the more and more you do that same pitch or presentation or whatever, the more you do it, the better it becomes, because now it's more natural, and you find things that in your voice and your tone and your speed that work best, and that's the way that you'll do it. So again, as you said, it's individual, but you cannot expect that the first time that you do anything, you'll be an expert at it. One of the ideas is that, just like a chapter in a book, in chapter 1, we only know a little bit. We're only a little bit understanding what's going on.
Right.
But by the time you get to chapter 20, you know a whole lot more. Well, why should I expect to act like I'm in chapter 20 when I'm just in chapter 1?
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, And you see this, and I brought this up again, to my daughter
Mm-hmm.
a couple weeks ago. It's kind of like if you take a baby, right, and to think about a baby rolling over, and it doesn't just happen, right? I mean, they work at it, they work at it. You may help them, and they start to figure it out, and then they can roll over, and then they try and crawl, and they're trying to figure that out, and then they can crawl, and then they try and stand up, and then they can walk. So that it's not just as simple as that you do it, like you said, do it one time. It takes practice, and we see that from infancy all the way up through what we're doing here. And really until you die, we're learning and trying different things and practicing different things our entire lifespan.
Yeah. And you have to. And that's what makes life interesting, right?
Exactly, exactly. And we've talked about the need for young people, young professionals, to improve their communication skills. And you do really good work with young people in this area. What are some areas that you're seeing across the board that need improvement? And, what are some of your successes in that area?
Well, obviously, one of the areas that I try to work a lot with, and I work with youth from 9 to 17, and then the 20s to the 30s-year-olds as well, but especially with the younger generations that are so comfortable with technology. They've picked it up as babies, and so they're so used to being not looking at you, and that direct engagement is tough. And so I love to teach both online and in person, because online they are so used to, I don't have to look at you. I'm just talking down here. It's fine. I'm looking. No, you disengaged us now. And when you look away, it's almost a trust and sincerity thing. If you can't look at me when you're saying something, are you really being honest, truthful to me? And
Right.
So the kids don't really associate that. So that's one of the things that I try to teach them is it's okay to look at us. And you will get, the more you do it, just like anything, the more comfortable you'll get. So that's one of the things, having that direct contact. And then whenever I teach how to speak in person or online, I'm also teaching them how to write.
Cool.
Because there is not the tone, by explaining to them how when I say things, I can say it 3 different ways and get 3 different meanings to the person that's hearing it. Whereas when you write, it's only one way. It's going to come out one way, and it may not be the way you want it to be. And so it's the interpretation. So how you write, you need to make sure that you read that back to yourself to make sure that it couldn't be misinterpreted in any way. But the kids especially are not even, they're a lot of times not exposed in the classroom to anything but a monotone voice that's teaching them. They're reading from something, there's no emphasis, there's no enthusiasm, there's nothing to engage them. And so they fall asleep in class, right?
Yes, they do.
So what we try to teach them is how important that roller coaster ride that you should take your voice on is. And I love, whenever I go into schools, I actually make the teachers who are sponsoring my class go through my course so that they understand the value and the benefit of what I'm teaching the kids, but they also can reinforce it in the classroom. And one particular teacher, I've worked now since 2011, so over 10 years with that person, and the difference in their teaching style is remarkable. And I know it's because that they went through that course and they saw the difference. That's the thing that is impactful, even in the individual. You see the difference in just making small changes in how you communicate. Right. It can make an impact in your success, in your persuasive abilities, your motivation abilities, and to just see the difference in the confidence these students have, as well as the adults that you teach. I tell a story about a class, a management class that I went in, and one of the people on my team was a young 20-something, and he had been a supervisor for about a month or two. And they decided, well, we need a manager. The manager left. We're going to move him. So he had 2 months of being a supervisor. So going from a field person to a supervisor, and now he's a manager. And it just so happened he was terrified of public speaking. And to graduate from our course and to get the full promotion, he had to just do a 3-minute talk on sports, weather, or news. And we went through 3 weeks in this class, off-site, away from our families. And every time we had to do a presentation from our team, he would be running to the bathroom.
Oh boy.
And so the night before we were to do our final course where he had to speak, I talked to the teacher and I said, this kid gets sick, physically ill at the thought of having to talk to this class. Is there anything that you can do? Because when we talk individually with him, he has such great ideas, has such great heart. He'll make a wonderful manager, but this is going to be a stopping block for him. And so he said, I got this. And the next day, whenever we got into class, as we always did, we networked and chatting around till class officially starts. And so there was a football game the night before. And so the teacher went up to him and he said, Roy, hey, Roy, did you see the game last night? And he said, oh my God, it was so great. And he talked about the player, his favorite player, and the plays that were made and how great the game was. And he was animated and he was even funny. And it was like a different person. Where did this guy come from, And at the end of the 3 minutes of him spouting about this, the teacher said, Roy, thanks. You just gave your sports talk. If you could have seen the face on this gentleman of just such pride that he did it, that he didn't die, he didn't throw up,
Right.
He could do this. The recognition that he could do this changed my life. And so when I teach the kids and they have to do their first speech for adults, 3 minutes or 4 minutes long, I help them to just see that they can get through it, that they can do this. And once they do that, then they know, okay, I can do this. I can make it. And that's the difference. You just have to build their understanding that, that they can do it. And he just had a conversation. That's all he thought he was doing. He didn't think he was giving a presentation. He was just chatting, having a talk as if he was at the bar with this guy.
Right.
And the
No
difference
pressure.
that
Again, the pressure that he was putting on himself to be something that he made up himself, and that's, it gives me kind of goosebumps to hear that story just from the fact that, wow, from his perspective, he did it without even knowing that he did it, and did a good job of it, and what doors that's going to open for him, being 20-some years old. Being able to do that opens all kinds of doors.
Yeah. And I give a lot of credit to the teacher, because he could have just said, well, he's just somebody's not going to make it, But luckily he trusted my opinion, but also what he saw in class. As a teacher, I'm sure he was wandering around listening to our individual conversations as we were preparing for our talks. So I give him a lot of credit, and that's for me. I never want to just make an assumption that somebody can't be great.
Right. Anybody who wants to be good at something, if they're willing to do the work, if they're willing to put the time and practice and effort into it, can get there. Now, you may not ever be Michael Jordan, you may not ever be Tiger Woods, but you can be good enough to do what needs to be done, to be able to express your ideas, to be able to, get promotions, to be able to have conversations, with significant others, to be able to have, meaningful dialogue with people you disagree with, all those different types of conversations that we have on a regular basis can happen if we're willing to put the work in and practice and ideas, put those ideas into practice.
Yeah, for sure. Just believe in yourself.
Exactly. And the other piece with this story that really kind of resonated with me is the whole idea that, you said that if you talk to him individually, kid was smart, had great ideas, motivated, all these other things. Understand that you can be all those things, but if you can't communicate it to people, if you could have the best idea on the team, but if you can't communicate it, maybe the worst idea is going to be the one that gets communicated, and that's the one that they're going to go with because somebody could communicate that. And that's so important, especially from a business or management or leadership perspective. Those people that can communicate well, those are the ones that get promoted. Those are the ideas that get moved forward.
Yeah, the loudest voice in the room. I remember that was one of the things that was sort of like an epiphany for me when I got my degree, because I didn't go to college until I was 45, 46. And so I got my degree at 50. And whenever I finally had that piece of paper, that acknowledgement, but and I did my degree online at University of Phoenix on the road. I was on the road most of the time. And I just saw how all of my life experiences really were valuable to me, and that I was, I did very well in college. And so that whenever I went into now a meeting at the corporate office with others that had all the degrees, the masters, the PhDs, the experience, I was more confident. And it's like, well, this is just my opinion. This is what I think, but it's worth you hearing.
Right.
And I think that so many times I sat in meetings with great ideas that somebody with a louder voice, more confident, would say exactly what I was thinking. But they were heard, they were recognized, and I was just that quiet person in the back. How many of you are that quiet person in the back that are letting life pass you by because you don't have a voice?
It's important. I mean, and the majority of people are introverts, right? And so, especially when we get in these types of situations, if we have a little bit of doubt in ourselves, or if we not necessarily sure how we want to communicate things, that takes over, and we have to have ways, and we have to have techniques or cues to snap out of it, to be able to share our thoughts and ideas. And we can't let that inner talk or that inner monologue, stop us from doing those types of things. And we don't have to be an expert to do that. It's just speaking up and, here's my thoughts, here's my ideas, and then go from there. We don't have to be the jump up and down, patting people on the back. It's so much more nuance than that.
Yeah, and you have to understand too that, especially, if you're in a brainstorming session, you may not have the full picture, but you may have insights and ideas that are part of the picture that aren't being said, or perspective that's not being shared, that would perhaps change the direction of the way things are going and allow others to take a different viewpoint and therefore be much more valuable. And I always, when I was a facilitator in the corporate world, I would make sure that I always said there are no stupid questions. And I won't have all the answers either. But you need to at least share what you're thinking so that we can ponder it, think about it, wrap it around a few times to see, is there some value or benefit for us to pursuing this further? And that way you don't feel like, oh, well, I'm shut down. Nobody's going to accept this. And, if it isn't accepted, that's fine, because we learn from our failures. We also learn from ideas that perhaps aren't the best idea at that time, at that place.
Exactly. And it takes work, it takes practice. That's I come back to that a lot, and and that's something that I do think that as coaches we do have to be upfront with our clients. This is not a fix it automatically. Yes, we can improve, and we can improve quickly and incrementally, but it takes work. It takes practice, and you have to do it. I mean, you have to actually do the work. And I think sometimes, I fall into this trap sometimes too. Yeah, if as I'm coaching or I'm teaching students or what have you, just go ahead and do these things. Make eye contact. All you have to do is make eye contact. Just do it. Just make eye contact and move on. And then I've got to take a step back and say, okay, let's practice making purposeful eye contact. When you're getting to a certain phrase or you're getting to a certain part in this talk, let's make sure that you're making purposeful eye contact. And doing that and showing them techniques on how to do that, and having them walk through it and doing those types of exercises.
Yeah. I always remind people that your face is part of your gesturing, that those facial expressions can be very, very important. And I think sometimes we shy away from being expressive because we want to appear just so professional and astute and it's smart. And it's like, but you're not natural.
Right.
If you're talking about something that's heartfelt or, compassionate or whatever, or funny, you should smile. You should be absolutely comfortable smiling. I always say that there's some great photos out there that are so complimentary of me because of the expressions that I use, but they're me, and it is what it is.
Right. I've been accused of having too much resting bitch face. That's why I laughed when you said that. I laughed. I said that's just pretty much my face. There's nothing I can do about it. That's just me. So
I did. When I was district director for Toastmasters, I had been for 4 years in front of people, and then finally one of the guys on my team said, Vicki, now for this year, you're district director. You're going to be out there and people are going to take pictures all the time. So you need to smile a lot. And so it's interesting because I became so aware of it. And I thought, oh God, did I smile? But now in podcasting, I see myself all the time and it becomes very comfortable and very natural. I thought, if I could have just had a monitor in front of me that showed my face, oh wait, that wasn't the right expressions to have or smile. But it's funny. It is an art.
Yeah, and so when talking about being live on camera, how can we really engage or connect with our audience virtually? Again, I tell this story a lot. 6 or 7 months ago, I couldn't take a selfie, even though I've been teaching online, but I do still struggle sometimes looking at the camera. But I couldn't take a selfie because I never know where to look, right? And my thing was, well, I'm not taking a selfie because that's not what men do, right? But that was my excuse for not doing it. But now doing these and doing some of these, short reels and those types of things, to talk about, coaching and those types of things, I've had to start doing it. And again, I'm practicing and getting better at it. But how can we really engage or connect with our audience virtually? Because it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. I have a checklist of different things to do to be more engaging on camera. And one of them is the eye contact piece. And you can use the laptop camera and be able to stare at it, but it's kind of like a little bit up if you look at, and so that makes your eyes not really engaging. And then if you have your as a laptop and you're looking down, well, that kind of isn't, you're looking at that red dot. Vicki told me to look at the red dot, but it's not engaging. So I do recommend that, if you're going to be doing this, that even if you're in a remote working, and I would get the Logitech or one of those remote cameras that is external cameras. And I have mine on a stand that's a telescoping, so I can have it at the right size, the right height for me. But I tell people, stick a picture of your favorite relative, your kid, your dog, a funny moment, so that you just stare at that picture. And originally, I think the person that was describing this to us that said, you just put an eye there. Well, then I look stupid, I'm not going to look at that eye. But if I have a picture of, my grandboys, I'm going to smile. I'm going to be happy to engage and look at them the whole time. The other thing is you have to train yourself to not care what else is going on the screen. And I think, we think, well, I'm not engaging if I'm not looking at you, but I am looking at you.
Right.
I'm not looking at you, but I am looking at you. And so you just get comfortable talking to the camera. It's just what people in television had to learn to do as well. Just pretend that you're talking to somebody that you love, that's there, and be engaging the whole time. There are times where I have to read. And so that if you do have to disengage to look down and then back up, just do it subtly. But again, every time you do look down, you do disengage. So you want to try your best to just look at that camera. And it takes practice, just like golf. And you just have to just keep on doing it. But again, to make it as easy as possible, the external camera, I think, with that picture above it, is a great way to get started.
Yes. It is, and I, like, I've got an external camera, and it's a little high for today, because I'm on a standing desk.
So am I, but I'm sitting.
I'm sitting too, and that's the other good piece is you have that ability to get it in a good position.
Yeah, that's why I love the telescopic, and it was
Right.
like $20 or something. Yeah. But I could put it at whatever size I want. If I take it on the road with me,
Right.
And I might be only using my laptop and not having my nice big screen in front of me. So then I've got to telescope it down to be at the right height for where I'm sitting, and
Right.
The different chairs that you get in the different locations.
Yes.
So that's why before I got the camera, I had a box assortment by my desk. Well, this is the box that I need for this desk, for this laptop, but this is what I need for this. And so I would raise my laptop, and it might be a box and a book or whatever, but just so that my little dot would be hitting, because you
Right.
always want to have like your camera be in thirds. And right now, just like you were saying, I am a little bit high, but I can adjust my camera down a little bit to be lower, so that you're at the third. And you can't do that on your laptop, right?
You can't.
You can move it back and forth, but you just want to have your third, and your chest would be your other third, so that you're nicely centered.
What other types of things can we do to improve that virtual presence in meetings? Before we came on live, we talked about my lighting and some of the things that I need to improve. But what are some things that like the general public can do, because they're not set up with some of the things like we have? How can they make sure that they're being perceived professionally and improve their presentation?
I always recommend, before I get on a podcast with anybody, I try to make sure if they're my guest, I want them in the best lighting, the best experience for the audience. And so if they don't have a ring light, they're just using the natural light of the window, which can be great. If you have a full sun day and there's no clouds, it can be the best lighting ever. But generally, you don't have that. And if the clouds come in, the shadows come with it.
Exactly.
So that's not great. But you can just take a regular lamp, table lamp, take off the shade, just put it in front of you, so behind your monitor or your laptop, so that the light is coming straight on to you. And then that's the best lighting. You can see the ring light a little bit in my face. I always keep powder. This is my third podcast already today, so I haven't powdered myself. But you could just keep powder, and that will take those shiny things away. But I have a ring light and an Amazon 3-position lighting, and that's all you need. I have no lighting in the side. I do have windows off to the side that I have blinds on, and then I have behind my little divider thing, I have a full size window, a picture window, I guess. And I have shades closed completely because the light will come through the little slats and
Right.
then have like little lines in me. And that's not good either. So you just have to be aware. So you don't want backlighting. You don't really want overhead lighting because the overhead lighting will give you dark shadows. And no person that I know wants dark shadows to look like a squirrel or a raccoon. So definitely don't want that. But lighting's important because you want to see the person's, especially eyes and mouth. But guys, we don't talk about makeup too much with you, but it's really kind of why people on television have makeup on, even if you're a man, because doing something with your lips makes it more distinct so that as you're speaking, people are focusing on that. Your eyes, I have mascara, eyeliner, color, so that it makes my eyes pop. If you don't use makeup, if you don't do anything, it kind of washes you out a little bit. So then you just need to make sure that whatever your background is that your face stands out. Uh, you have a black background, which makes your face stand out a little bit better than a lighter would do. So you definitely want to put the person in the best light. And the other thing to be more engaging is the sound. If you have poor sound, then the people will disengage immediately. So I used just regular, the corded earbuds for probably a year and a half. It worked fine. The sound was fine, but as I got to be more professional, I did invest in a Samsung microphone and got great compliments on this. But it is one that if I decide to go to the next level, I can quickly turn this into from a USB to a panel and all the fancy schmancy stuff.
Right.
But I don't have to, it all works fine. But you want to make sure people can hear you, can see you, and that the image that you have is good. And the final thing is internet. And if you have poor internet, no matter how great your camera is, your sound, your lighting, it's a problem. I had in my podcast that I just did previous, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Atlanta, and my power went out momentarily, like a flash. So I lost camera, didn't lose connection. Thank you, Jesus. I didn't lose connection, but I had to pause everything and make sure we picked up where we left off, type of thing. But I don't, whenever I have a podcast that's when I'm going to be traveling, I test as soon as I get there, and I'll cancel or reschedule a podcast if the internet's not stable.
Yes.
Because it's not fair to that person that I'm interviewing. If my connection, their connection may be fantastic, but if my connection's bad, then it's just not fair to them.
Yes.
So I want the best experience.
Internet is something recently for me that drives me nuts. It's 2024, it's almost 2025. And, the other podcasts that I do, it's golf related. And, 4 or 5 times a year, we go live on site. So like at tournaments, we're actually live on site, so we're actually in person interviewing, winners, sponsors, the whole deal, so we travel there. I pack up all the gear and we go there, and internet is awful. And so we lose out big time because we can't, even just recording like here, everything records to the cloud. We can't even, internet is so bad, we can't even get it up into the cloud, and that hurts us on any number of different levels. Obviously financially, because, we put out money, for the travel. And now we're not going to be able to get that message out or be able to share everything that we did.
Yeah.
So
I always take my hotspot with me as a backup, but even sometimes that is not strong enough if it's a really remote area. When my brother-in-law has a lake house, and the lake house didn't have any internet. So I could only use my hotspot. And so if I was going to be at the lake, then I wouldn't do podcasts, just for the simple fact that if it was a cloudy day, then my hotspot might not be so great. And that wouldn't be good. So yeah, you have to consider that. I always ask, and I know a lot of the podcasts that I go on, they ask, well, what kind of internet do you have? Because again, they're just trying to make sure that the experience of the audience is a good one.
Right. And I'm sure that there's technical reasons for it, but most places don't have wired internet anymore anyway. And so we're kind of at the mercy of the strength of the wireless signal.
Yeah.
And
so even in my house here, I have boosters. I have 3 boosters just to make sure that the signals, because not only with the podcasting, but I have streaming TVs.
Right.
Who would have thought we needed all these TVs?
Exactly.
Us baby boomers that only had one TV growing up. But, I have Roku and all those other things streaming. And so I have to have powerful signal in almost every room of my house has a TV. So,
right. And I'm a full-time RVer. I've got 3 TVs in a 42-foot bus, and I don't even watch TV. I watch, let's put it this way, I watch very little TV, and I mean, I can't walk 10 steps without seeing a TV, and it's nuts. I mean,
it's crazy.
But and that's how we are, right? Oh, it's got to have a TV here. Oh, there's a space for a TV. We've got to put one there. There's got to be one outside too. Oh my goodness! And the internet better work outside for when I'm sitting outside.
That's right. When you're watching that golf game.
Exactly. So, Vicki, is there anything that we didn't discuss that you think is important for our listeners to know?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we didn't talk about fully, but was mentioned subtly, I guess, is you just have to have fun.
Yes.
I think people just stress so much. Even to do like TikToks and things like that, it's like, oh, you got to redo it 50 times. No, the best ones are the ones that they totally screw up. I mean, some of the dance moves are obviously, but I'm telling you, it's just because it's showing you're human, and also it's letting that audience know, hey, you could do this too. Look at this person did it. You could do it. But I think we forget to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be all about. I whenever I got into doing podcasting, it was actually just I did a project for Toastmasters on a mock one, and I had so much fun. But then during COVID, I had people that were shut in, obviously, and they were elderly, and I knew they were alone. And I thought, well, this would be good. I remembered growing up that every weekend I would spend time with my grandmothers, and I'd go up to my dad's mom, and my sister and I would clean house, and then we would sit and have tea, and she'd tell us stories as she was having a shot and a beer. But
that's awesome.
She would tell us stories, and it was such a great time. And I thought, this is what I need to do with these older people that are lonely and don't have anyone. And so I would do just little interviews like this with them and just ask them about their life and their stories. And they had such great stories. And I thought, well, this is what I should do. And so eventually I'm going to have another podcast. It's just a second podcast. It's going to be, It's Just a Conversation with Vicki. And I'm just going to interview people that have cool backgrounds.
That'd be awesome.
They lived a life and they think that it was just a life, but then they have these awesome stories of the things that they did, the people they met, the places they went, that I think others would be enjoying as well hearing.
Yeah, that would be good because, again, number one is getting people to tell their story, and they may think it's just a normal thing, but other people would say, wow, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
To be able to have experienced some of the things that you've experienced.
Yeah.
It's great.
One of the services that I offer is like, I'll do 5 podcasts or 5 interviews with you and recorded AI transcript, and I'll give it to you. You could write a book. There it is. It's all there. I'll bring it out of you, and you got your book. get a good editor. So that's a service I offer. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I'm speechless. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, because people, they can tell you their stories. They can talk.
Can.
But if you ask them to write it, they're like, I can't write. I can't do that.
Exactly.
Well, sure. You just told me your whole story. I just spent 2 hours with you. You told me all about your life. I was totally intrigued, totally enraptured. Yes, this is a book that people would want to hear.
Absolutely, they would.
Yeah, and I think some people think, too, that they have to do War and Peace or something. No. You can do a little teeny, I have publisher friends that will do a small pocket books or whatever, but it's your story. It's your legacy.
Yes.
It's something for you and your kids. Yeah.
In the other podcasts I do, in June, I interviewed somebody. He was referred to me by a friend who was he's a former PGA Tour player, but played in the 70s. And he wrote a book about telling his life on the PGA Tour, and PGA Tour players in the 70s are very different than they are now. The whole industry is different. And he told stories about meeting Jack Nicklaus as a kid, meeting these other famous golfers, growing up and doing these amazing things, driving all over Florida. And he actually met and almost dated Vanna White when Vanna White was she was a I don't want to say it wrong, but maybe she was a cashier at a grocery store, and somebody gave him her number to hopefully hook him up as a date. Just some of the craziest things that are just normal, that normal people go through every day. People want to hear about. People want to hear about other people's stories. That's a really good service. And so, just so you know, next time I hear somebody say, I want to write a story about my life, I'm going to send them to you.
That'd be awesome.
Man. So where can people find you and work with you?
So you can connect with me by going to my website, which is findyourleadershipconfidence.com. If you want to be on my podcast, you can just click on be my guest, and fill out an application. And you can also just go to my website and do /schedule. You can email me at first initial last name, or you can Vicki.Noethling. So either one at Gmail. So first initial last name at Gmail, or Vicki.Noethling@gmail.com. Let me know what you'd like to work on. Definitely check out my YouTube channel, which is my name, Vicki Noethling, and it has over 460 podcasts out there. I've got 500 plus recorded, so there's more to come. But definitely, you can find me on Facebook, Victoria Noethling. You can find me on LinkedIn, Vicki Noethling. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Pinterest. I'm all around. Just search my name. You'll find me.
That's awesome. And I'll put those links in the show notes for everybody. But Vicki, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's really good catching up with you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim, so much.
All right. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to join our growing community and register for the Formula for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. I hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Speaking with Confidence. Give us a review to tell everyone why you love the podcast. You can also download, like, and share the podcast with friends. Be sure to visit formulaforpublicspeaking.com and sign up for the Formula for Public Speaking course. It's a step-by-step system to help you become the confident and powerful speaker you've always wanted to be.